Hi guys, Matt LaMarsh here with Keller Williams First Atlanta. Hope you guys are doing well. Today's episode's a little bit different. I sat down with Laine Hoke with the Network Millennial Instagram channel, and we just talked about networking and gave a couple tips and tricks about how to better your network and how to better your engagement with your network. And then we dug a little bit deeper into me, my kind of background story, if you will. So anyway, I hope you enjoy, and please leave a comment. Let me know what you thought. Thanks so much. Have a great day. Hello.
Hey, how are you, Matt?
I'm well. How are you guys?
I'm good.
Good. Happy to be here.
Thank you so much. Okay, guys, so really quick, we are with Matt LaMarsh. He has the Selling Sandy Springs Instagram, which we will tag. And we are going to talk today about Network Millennial and about Matt and all of his entrepreneurial things that you do.
Yeah.
As well as some tips for networking.
Absolutely. Yeah, so we connected on Instagram, which is how I think a lot of us are now connecting.
Yep.
And, I just reached out to you and I said, I love what you're doing. No one's doing this. This is like it's a big niche. It really is.
Thanks.
We call it a niche, but it's a big niche, and there's a lot of millennials out there that are looking to network and grow their network and their net worth. And, for me, it was just a cool idea, and I loved what you were doing with it. So,
I'm honored.
no, it's really, really cool. And I think that, as the page and as the group kind of grows and as your events certainly will continue to grow, I'm just excited to kind of be along for the ride. So
I'm glad to have you on the
yeah,
team.
absolutely.
Thank you so much for reaching out.
No doubt.
And you're doing incredible things too.
Thank you.
Selling Sandy Springs has like 2,000 followers.
Yeah,
that's awesome.
We've gotten a lot of views just over the last couple of weeks here. I kind of started at the beginning of the year with my transition into real estate, and it's been fantastic. We started off with a bang with the mayor of Sandy Springs, kind of like our first episode, so that was a good way to start it. But really just influencers, city leaders, business owners, nonprofit organizations, that's kind of like our niche there, basically. So, but it's great because I give them a free, kind of what I call an extended commercial, and then they're able to produce and kind of curate that content on their own social platforms and use it for marketing and stuff like that. So. No charge, of course. So if you guys know anyone that would love to have that done, we're happy to go interview them.
Yeah, that would be great. I'm sure I can connect you with a couple of people.
I'm sure you could.
Off camera, and we'll talk about
Absolutely.
that. That's so great.
No doubt.
Cool. Okay, do you have questions for me? Because I have a ton of questions for you.
Sure. Yeah. Where did this idea come from for you?
So I am a Forsyth County native. Since I was 10 years old, I've lived there. And I've always worked in small business. Dad's an entrepreneur, brother's an entrepreneur, I'm an entrepreneur. And I noticed that my friends and I were all struggling to connect with other people. All of our friends moved into the city, and I knew that there was a community of folks craving to meet and to talk about business. And there wasn't a platform for us to do that. And my personality is, well, if nobody's going to do it, then I'm going to fucking do it. So I dubbed myself the OTP party planner. And I thought, let's just try it, see what happens. I went to Cherry Street Brewery, plug for Cherry Street Brewery. They have been super supportive with Network Millennial. They are millennials. They are local Forsyth millennials that own businesses. And our first event was October 3rd. We had right at like 90 to a little bit over 100 folks show up. I honestly thought I was only going to have 30 people be there, and they would all be my friends. And I had strangers show up, and I was so honored. And then our next event was in Roswell in November, and we had close to 120 people show up, and it's just grown and grown and grown thanks to people like you, and just being able to provide friends and my peers a place to connect.
Sure. That's awesome.
Yeah.
I love to hear the background story because there's always a story. And I think connecting people is, in this digital world that we now live in,
we've got to.
It seems like we're getting further apart, but I actually think we're getting closer. And that's one of the unique things I think about Instagram stories and going live is that there's no script here. There's no us talking us talking over a cup of coffee or on video. It's basically the same thing, and I think people really connect to that. But they like it. It's a real and authentic kind of experience that we're kind of missing right now. So
I agree.
I love it. think it's a great idea.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Thank you. Awesome.
Yeah, so, as far as networking goes, I consider myself a growing networker, and what I mean by that is that I'm always learning and adjusting with, especially the technology. There's a lot of changes just in my, 15 years of professional life that I've learned, some that work and some that don't, and some that used to work that, don't work anymore. And so for me, I used to have this little system where whenever I was at a networking event or whatever, I would grab someone's card, and I had an app that I would shoot a picture of it, and it would go straight into my contacts.
I think I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, and there's a new one called Full Contact that's awesome.
Really?
And works with iOS and Android and all this type of stuff. And that kind of gets you the network, right? But then you have to go and actually connect with it and engage with it.
And do something.
Because then, there's a million emails everyone's getting every day. I think that you have to constantly be looking at what's new and what's innovative and where's people's attention.
Right.
For me, that has really been Instagram for like the last month. I used to be, I wouldn't say big on Snapchat, but when I started my landscaping business, I was doing daily vlogs where I would show landscaping and lawn care tips, and then I would actually go and ask for business through Snapchat. Wow. And I think I was one of the only people that I ever engaged with, and I had a couple hundred people that would follow me there every day that would actually close business as a result. And so one story was I had a Brookhaven geo filter on Snapchat one day, and one girl sent it to another girl and said, hey, he does this type of work and he's in Brookhaven, I know you live down there.
Smart.
And so she picked me right up and we got a $500 job off of it, just off of Snapchat. So this stuff works if you do it a lot. And that's, I think, where most people get frustrated with. They do it for like a month or even a year and they don't see any results and they don't see their network growing and their likes or their followers or comments or whatever increasing, but you have to stay with it. I mean, it took me 2.5, 3 years to really kind of find a flow, at least on social. But now Instagram, the stuff that I learned on Snapchat and the video and forward-facing stuff, I just now kind of apply to Instagram.
I love what you're saying because I think consistency matters, but then I also think that providing value
100%.
matters even more than being consistent. Maybe it's 50-50, but you provide so much value. So you're consistent and you're on Instagram all the time and your stories are good,
Thank you.
Along.
You're not alone.
Though.
You're not alone with that.
No, that was definitely a dig. I'm sorry.
All good.
Ours are long too. We have a lot to say, but being consistent with your networking, with asking for business, is so important. And then you've got to follow up with, okay, but I'm actually going to provide you with something.
Yeah.
And not just like, I'm going to keep talking and it's all about me and it's me. It's, here's what I've got and I want to give it to you for free. This is for free and this is a ton of value, not only for me, but for your followers and for my followers as well, because they're going to get great content. So it's creating a community of people around you so that we're all providing value.
100%. Well, and there's a balance too, because the more you're asking for sales and the more you're asking for business, the more likely people are going to start to unfollow.
Right.
If you're giving them something of value, then they're more likely to hang around longer.
Well, because they trust you.
100%. 100%. And that's when it's kind of like word of mouth, right? Social media is now our new word of mouth. That's just how we advertise it. And for me, for the first month or two, I was just trying to figure out what I was going to do on Snapchat. And all my high school friends and college buddies were like, what are you doing? And I'm like, I don't know. I mean, I just kind of like talking into the camera, and you get made fun of, and you get, when you innovate in certain ways, it's uncomfortable for people for a little while. But what I've found over the last like 3 or 4 years is moving from Snapchat to Instagram, now there's a lot more family that follows and a lot more people that I've only engaged with once or twice in person or face to face. But not a lot of people do this type of kind of storytelling on Instagram, and I think it's a big miss. Especially if you're a personal brand or if you have a marketing company or whatever, a landscaping company, it doesn't matter. Whatever you do, the first rule of business is go tell everyone you know. Because that's how you generally get business. And then beyond that, like you said, provide value, give them something that they may never ever be in your database as a customer, but at the same time, they all know other people. And they will eventually refer you to someone that may give you business. I never went into it though with the intent of I'm going to sell a job because of the input or the content that I put out there.
Right.
That was never the intention. The intention was, I'm just going to communicate, I'm going to add value, I'm going to give hopefully someone out there a tip about lawn care, landscaping that maybe they'll connect with, and maybe it'll kind of help them bridge the gap between their knowledge base, where they are and where they want to be.
Exactly, and I think that's kind of, it loops back into Network Millennial. I never started it to be this brand, and that's what it's turned into, is a brand that I hope provides value, and I hope provides economic development and jobs and connections, and maybe a love connection, and maybe not, maybe just more friends. So yeah, I think it's all about being genuine in your approach. And I want to throw a little science at you, because you're right. As far as marketing goes and telling these stories, our brains actually light up more when we are told a story, and we engage with a story more than if we're just given facts, which is funny because I just gave you a fact about storytelling. But our brains actually are programmed to listen to a story more and to engage with a story more. That's why story marketing works so well. That's why asking the background, telling the background, and then engaging and bringing in your listeners, your audience into your story is so effective.
Yeah, well, and if you look at the trends, right? YouTube just added stories now so that you can go in and actually engage with your audience without producing this long, and I say long, it could be 3, 7, or 10 minutes, but a long version video. Now you're able to kind of just on the spot do it, which I've always loved, and that's one of the great things about Snapchat is that there were things that would happen throughout my day, and you can go to YouTube and see 200 and something videos of my daily Snapchat stories.
We're gonna have to do that.
It's a little.
Abby,
I'm gonna warn you.
It's
rough. I'm gonna be honest with you. The first 6 months, I was just trying to figure out how to do it, and storytelling is something that when someone says it, we all think we know how to tell a great story, but when you're doing it digitally, it's hard.
It is hard.
And it's hard to get engagement, and it's hard to get feedback on it. Now you've got all these tools with polls and ask me a question and the little love smiley face. You've got all these tools now that we didn't have 3 or 4 years ago. But now people can quickly do it, which to me is the scalability of your reaction to it, So I love stories. I think I'm developing into a better storyteller. I don't think I'll ever be completely satisfied, but there's some great storytellers out there that do a great job, whether it's building ponds or talking about goals like we were last week. People always ask me, they're like, I don't have anything to talk about. I'm like, what did you do today? That's your story.
Yeah, and how do you pull other people into it?
100%.
100%. Because just like with Network Millennial, I'm going to keep going back to that, but I knew that I wasn't the only one with this struggle, and it was a problem, and in a story you always need a problem. So whatever your problem is, that's where your story starts.
Absolutely.
Because if you're bringing people into that problem and they're feeling it, and they've experienced it, they know someone who's experienced it, or you're just using really engaging words, there's your story, there's your marketing, and then just the solution is the value.
Right. Well, and you don't know where it's going to ever find someone. There's content that you think is great, but then when you put it out there, you're like, why is this falling so flat?
And that is also very true. Just all my jokes, super flat.
Well, then there's other content that you put out that you're like, I don't know what I'm doing. I'm just gonna toss it out there, and then it gets the biggest reaction you've ever gotten.
Oh my gosh!
And it's crazy, but that's how social media now kind of works, and that's what I love about it is that nothing's really out of bounds or crosses the line in my mind. I'm now in real estate, and so you're probably going to see a lot of things from me that you wouldn't normally see from most realtors.
Good.
That I'm not in a suit and tie. I'm not knocking on your door. I'm not sending you a mailer. I'm going to be on Instagram. I'm going to be telling stories. I'm going to be talking about my past. I'm going to be talking about my future. I'm going to talk about my goals and my why and everything. My kids. You're going to see everything. And nothing's out of bounds. But at the same time, there's a balance that you kind of have to strike and figure out where do you add value.
Right.
I can only show you so many videos and pictures of my kids before you go, is this what the new content is?
Yeah, so you have kids.
Right, we got it. And they're cute and adorable, of course. So, but no, it's a tough balance, and I don't think many people do it well, and it's something that I'm just constantly trying to work on. And like you talked about earlier, the longer stories for me, like you say, I've just got a lot going on, and I'm trying to just condense it down. I'm trying to get out all of this information down into like a 20-second video, and that's not always easy.
No.
At all. So
yeah, it takes a lot of takes. It takes a lot of, and it's trial and error. I mean, I've had, you know, stories that are just like people are probably just clicking it and like, oh my gosh, let me get to the point. But you do have to go through that whole testing and trial and error
100%.
to get to, and again, you never know what's gonna hit.
Yep.
So
it was
like
crazy.
right in the middle of your story, someone's like, "Oh my gosh, that makes so much sense." Yeah, like, okay, Sarah, this is now your realtor.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, it's crazy. One of the best stories that I ever got a reaction from was dedicated to those tappers on Snapchat, because it's the same functionality now on Instagram that I would create a different word, kind of like you do on Network Millennial, where it was a different word or a different sentence for each video.
Right.
And the great thing about Snapchat was that you could make that a 1-second video, you could make it a 10-second video.
Right.
We don't have that flexibility yet on Instagram yet, but one of the great things was that I put stop, so they'd tap, and I'd put tapping through my stories, so quickly you're missing good value.
Okay.
And so at the end of the story, like 25 people wrote me and were like, all right, I'm not tapping through your story anymore.
That's
you know?
so funny, just call them out.
Just, I mean, it's still authentic, it's still real, and you know, we kind of get in the flow of our daily storytelling, and it's hard to kind of remember that there are people watching this, they're real people. Some of them are tapping, some of them are just watching every last second, but I think it's nice to connect in that way.
Yeah, I agree.
And I've never seen it done before either, so that was kind of like a new thing that I tried, and I was like, that's kind of crazy.
Matt LaMarsh is the one that started that, so you guys
I haven't seen anyone else do it, but
I've not seen
I think
anyone
it's a great idea.
do it. I've seen someone like do a video of like, why are you skipping through? And it was, everyone that follows me on Instagram will know, it was about fireworks. She was recording fireworks, and I have a problem if you're going to do a video on fireworks or at a live concert.
Gotcha. Because the audio is fantastic on your phone.
Yeah, especially when you're like up in the top seat. Becky, thank you so much for that. So, awesome. Okay, I do have a quick question just about your background, because you talked a little bit about you're a real estate agent now selling Sandy Springs.
That's right.
And then you also had a landscaping business, but what else have you done?
Yeah, so before I decided to open my own business and kind of start my entrepreneurial journey, like 12, 13 years ago, I started my first business, and I basically came out of another business and started my own business doing the exact same thing, which was selling stuff for people on eBay.
Cool.
And so eBay was big at the time, or still relatively big, and people would bring me their stuff. I would go to small businesses and pick up their old technology or whatever and just list it all for them on eBay. And it was a great business. The business that I worked in before that was doing the exact same thing. They just had a retail location.
Okay.
So I did that for about 2.5, 3 years, and had an opportunity to buy the business. Kind of didn't take it and decided I could do this on my own. Went out and did that. And after about 2 years, the market fell, and I just got punched in the face, so to speak, in the professional world. Which, you know, you go through a time period after that, something like that happens, and it's tough. You really start to question your methods and your motives and yourself just as a professional. And I struggled with it because I thought that I was meant to be an entrepreneur. So when all of those questions start coming up, you get emotional and you get, you know, I was in a new,
I get it.
I was in a new marriage at the time, so there was just this pressure as a man of a new wife that I felt like I'd let her down. And so I kind of told myself that, you know, for the next 10 years, regardless of what I do, I'm going to do it to the best of my ability. I'm going to learn as much as I can. I'm going to kind of dust myself off, pick myself up, and see if, you know, working for someone else is what I ultimately need to be doing. So I worked for Yamaha, I worked for Staples, I worked for a boating center up on Lake Altoona, buying and selling boats. I worked in the service department doing that and learned a lot. Worked for some great entrepreneurs that I really admired and was able to learn a lot from. And then kind of leveraged that into my landscaping business that I started about a little over 3 years ago.
Okay.
I loved being out in the yard. To me, that kind of represented, you know, men are very, what's the word, protective of their landscaping. When you go in to buy your first or second home, you know, you want it to look nice, you want it to be presentable. Everyone's going for yard of the month or yard of the week or whatever, but To me, it's just something that is reflective of who I am.
Okay.
And so in changing what our landscape at home looked like, I ran into a lot of terrible contractors.
Yeah.
And I was like, I think I can do this. I think I can do this a lot better than they can, in fact. And so for the first month in September of 2015, I started just marketing myself like crazy, doing free work. I moved a 10-yard pile of mulch with a wheelbarrow and a lawnmower, wheelbarrow and a shovel for free, just to prove I was serious about getting into the business.
Super fun.
And for like 6 months between September and March, I worked nights and weekends and was up on social and networking and telling people about my new business while still working my full-time job at Staples. And so 6 months of just communication to my wife that, look, this is going to be hard and this isn't going to be super fun for either one of us. I'm going to be out working my backside off to try and make this business a success. And in 2016, January, I had 10 customers. In February, we had 20. And then in March, we had 40. And I had a real live business all of a sudden. So I left Staples, pursued the business full time, and we grew very, very quickly. That first year, kind of hit the ground running. And spring was a great time to kind of leave Staples behind and pursue this full time. And built it up over the last 3 years. Now we have 2 guys on our crew, 2 part-time guys on our crew as well. And they go out and do business. We've done business with about 250 customers.
That's amazing.
Here, about a mile and a half radius from where we're standing right now. So, so anyway, but about a year ago, I kind of felt a lack of challenge in my business, and had an opportunity to basically double in growth with 2 or 3 pretty good sized contracts, or just kind of maintain where we were. And some of the difficulties in labor that I came across, really just kind of pushed me to pursue real estate. And so started formulating my business strategy and putting together a plan to keep the business running while also getting my license and finding a brokerage firm and all that type of stuff. So, and even just that took 3 months. So, but here we are, and 1 month into it, I'm loving it so far, and I've gotten to meet some incredible people and connect and network with a lot of awesome people, and get to learn from some fantastic mentors. So I'm excited. I've always had an interest in real estate, but never been able to execute upon it. So this is kind of my first chance to do that.
Great.
Yeah.
I love your story because it tells me that, one, you don't quit, and that it's the hustlers that succeed.
It is.
And I think that that's so important, especially for people that are just coming out of college and people that are kind of in that 23, 24, 25. You've had your first job. You're not really sure what you're going to do next. And maybe you're meant to start your own business. And maybe you're not meant to start your own business. And either path is fine, but what's not fine is to not work really hard.
100%.
Yeah.
And that's what I tried to pour into the other businesses that I was in, was that it's not my business, but I still need to care about the customer. I still need to produce the results.
Amen.
I mean, all of these things are required of you just to be successful in business in any capacity.
Yeah, whether you own it or not.
100%. And I think that when you work for someone else, you do find out where the weaknesses are. You definitely see where the other strengths are. But I think that this world constantly tells us about what we're terrible at. And I think you need to find what you're good at and then go all into that, and then find a group of folks that can help you on the weaknesses.
Exactly.
So that's what I'm excited about for your group. In fact, at the event last week, I met 2 guys in particular that not are just only in my industry, but also that we have a lot of golf and boating were kind of the 2 common threads between the 2.
I think I might know who they are.
But it's just a great conversation, and that's what I would encourage anyone that's looking to build their network, is that when you attend these types of events, get out of your comfort zone a little bit.
Yeah.
You don't have to go around and say hi to everyone, but find one of the things that I loved about what you did was you put what superpower or what skill
did you wish you had?
had.
We try to have one conversation starter for
and
every
that worked
event.
great, because I saw a lot of wannabe singers on there.
My brother is a wannabe singer.
And I think when you've got those little icebreakers in there, you've got something to talk about. I mean, not just that, but you're there, and that's enough for you to talk about.
Exactly. How'd you hear about it?
Yeah.
Absolutely. Go
Absolutely.
for the questions that you haven't been asked 1,000 times, what do you do? Where are you from? Go for something like, what are you really excited about working on? Or give the other person an opportunity to tell a story to you, because then that's something easy that you can then engage with. And they're doing all of the work. And you look super smart, which is, I'm totally here for that.
And they'll remember you because of
Exactly.
the story. They won't remember you because of your business card. They won't remember you because of your Instagram follow or whatever else. But they will remember the story. They always do.
Because your brain lights up when you tell a story.
That's right. That's right. Yeah. No, I think what you're doing is fantastic. And again, I think if people can get out of their comfort zone a little bit, you know, especially if you're a bit of an introvert, not comfortable meeting new people, I think that's always going to be a challenge, right?
Yeah.
But if you can just find one or two people to connect with, that's an increase. That's more, you know. And I like to call myself an extroverted introvert. That when I was in
You and I are very similar. Yeah.
when I was in middle school and high school, I was kind of like the shy kid, you know, over in the corner, just didn't really like pay attention to many people. But when you go to own your own business, when you want to be out in the marketplace, you don't have a choice.
You do not have a choice.
So you've got to put yourself out there, and don't be afraid of people judging you or thinking that you do or that you don't know, you know, what you're talking
Yeah,
about.
because it doesn't matter.
It doesn't.
It doesn't matter. You have to do the best that you can do with what you've got in the moment, with the information that you've got in the moment, and then grow from there.
100%.
Yeah.
100%.
Love it. Thanks so
Very
much.
good.
Matt.
Absolutely. Thank
Yeah.
you guys.
Okay, so I want my followers to know how they can connect with you. So
Sure.
will you please tell us if you've got a website,
Yeah.
your Instagram, all that kind of stuff?
Absolutely. So the website is just mattlamarsh.com. You'll see all the real estate stuff there. Also, the Selling Sandy Springs episodes are up there under videos. On Facebook, Matt LaMarsh. On Instagram, MLamarsh, at MLamarsh, I should say. Also, at Selling Sandy Springs on Instagram and Facebook. All the videos and content that we kind of create are there as well. So
Awesome. Thank you so
Yeah,
much.
no,
Great
thank
guy,
you.
guys. You need to follow him.
I
He's got
appreciate it.
awesome content.
I appreciate it. Thank you
Awesome.
so much.
Thanks.
Absolutely.
Okay. Bye, guys.
Bye. Thank you.
If you have a business or a nonprofit that you'd like to see featured here, please feel free to give me a call at 678-687-4397 or shoot me an email to matt@mattlamarsh.com. Thanks so much.